this weekend, I'm attending ArmadilloCon with some members of my critique group. ArmadilloCon is an annual sci-fi and fantasy writing convention held in Austin, Texas, that started in 1979. The convention offers writing workshops, readings and panels with working writers, and a flash fiction competition. None of us have ever been before, so we're really excited to check it out.
And beadwork and lace, those things are very expensive. And so historically, those things were more present. Like that was a way to advertise
clothing. So you go to France in that period, men are just as ostentatious and embroidered and gold and frippery and feathers and jewels. I mean, it really is this peacock time. And it was like that for a while. You know, men were allowed to wear beautiful sumptuous silks.
Everybody look cool, as though we're cool. We are.
She's saying about us.
We are.
Apologies, the other clips were too short to provide a lot of information, but I'll give information about the writers in those panels and their work in the description down below. This is a reading by C. Stuart Hardwick, who's a frequent contributor to Analog magazine, which is a huge SFF publication. He's also currently compiling a short story collection inspired by the United States Space Force. I'll let you hear a little bit of his reading now.
A to-go coffee and assumed the head of the table. Clarissa's father repeated his objections, adding, "And I'm not telling you the formula." "Oh, we already have that." This was one of the civilians, a young red-haired man in jeans and a white.
No, we just, I guess Madison and I, we just did a panel went to a panel, and Charlie and David did the flash fiction competition. Charlie tied for third, and David won!
They put the video game writers next to each other. I mainly worked in a bunch of franchises, the Ultimate franchise, Star Wars.
This panel was a live recording of the Hugo-nominated podcast Worldbuilding for Masochists. It was super fun. There was a lot of talk of like the merits of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I think was really fun. Next, we went to an interview with the guest of honor, Andrea Stewart, who wrote the Bone Shard Daughter and the Drowning Empire series.
To tell a larger picture of what the world is like and how people exist in it. And one of the smaller fun things that I really enjoy is that when you have epic fantasy and you have these multiple POVs, you can see how a character thinks of themselves. And then when you have two characters interact, you can see how other people think of them and perceive them, which is always really fun to me.
And then in The Gods Below, what's interesting is not only do you have a religion as...
After the interview, we found a cute spot to chill by the pool. Charlie had read Andrea's books and was telling us how wonderful they are. During the interview, Andrea and Marina Lotstetter, who interviewed her, let us know that they've been in the same critique group since before they were published. And that was really validating to us. We're very against being competitive with each other. We always say people come up in schools, and when one of us is successful, it benefits all of us. So it was cool to see two people from the same critique group both become full-time writers. Then we went to Marina's reading, and she let us in on a twist for her upcoming novel, and Madison was super excited. I'm not going to spoil the twist, but here's an excerpt from her reading.
His chin into his tightly clasped hands. She willed him to keep steady, though she could feel him trembling. After long seconds,
After dinner, Charlie and David did a reading of their submissions for the flash fiction contest. The prompt was wheels, I believe.
Streaks on the remaining windows, or on the bleached concrete, or on his hands as he reached beneath the axle and heaved. The bus, with its 2 remaining wheels, tipped upright. The loud screech and cracking of falling glass were both loud enough to interrupt the music he played in his wireless headphones, provided by Jake Hood. Ben pulled his phone from his pocket and meant to increase the volume. Cozier was his favorite type of coat during his janitorial day job.
David's submission will actually be published online through ArmadilloCon, and once it becomes available, I'll link it down below.
Residents of Harper Hollow gathered in their pilgrim garb in the small square next to the community pool. How strange to see them out of their Ralph Lauren pastels and Burberry plaids, all traded for starched black and white. The men shined the buckles of their shoes and carefully ran a lint roller over their tall hats. The women had ironed their long skirts and hidden their bleached hair beneath blinding white bonnets. They stood around the great wheel in solemn silence. Lashed to it was a man, shirtless, his nose bloodied.
Then we went to a content creation panel. As someone currently creating writing content, this was super awesome and very relevant to me. I'll put more information about the contributors to this panel in the description, but Adrian Simmons, who runs Heroic Fantasy Quarterly, and Christopher Ruocchio of Sun Eater fame were there.
Friendly with other writers, but you're also competing with cinema, and you're competing with YouTubers, and you're competing with TikToks, and they can make those in about 20 seconds, right? And so the question is, what do you do in the meantime, right? And so all this other stuff that I've been doing is to give my readers something in between those bigger releases, between books, between novellas.
Next, I went to a reading by Adrian Simmons. I was the first one there, and he recognized me from the previous panel, and he talked to me a little bit about my writing. He mentioned that his magazine accepts spec-fic poetry and encouraged me to submit, which was super cool. He read from one of his current works in progress and talked to us a little bit about his writing process.
The others laughed. "Oh no," the caravan master said. "Old Three Fangs, she's a big one." He made no indication of the size that Three Fangs' print might make. Instead, turning on the swish of his tan robes and striding back to his men and the skittish camels and horses of the
That was my experience at ArmadilloCon. I had a wonderful time. 11 out of 10, would go again in a heartbeat.